जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जसोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन जसोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन जमुना तीरा बनचारी जमुना तीरा बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha, Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha, Prahlad Nrsimha, Jaya Anantadev. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Subhadra Mai, Jaya Sudarshana. Jaya Radha Madhava Ashtasakhi, Giri Govardhana, Jaya Giri Govardhana. Ashtasakhi, Giri Govardhana, Jaya Giri Govardhana. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. O Vishnupad Paramhansa, Parivrajak Acharya, Ashtrottara Sat, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur ki, प्रेम से कहिए जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन जी महाराज की, ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा मैया की, जमुना माई की, तुलसी महारानी की, समवेत भक्त वृंद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam daivim saraswati vyasam tato jayo mudirayeta nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नष्ट की. A very warm welcome to all of you. So, my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Kindly bless me so that I only repeat what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned here and do not deviate from sharing what is bona fide. We are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 7, verse number 12 and 13. It appears that on the board what you see is verse number 13. So I would be reciting verse number 12 and then we will together read verse number 13 when the turn comes. Those of you who are seeing it on the Veda base on your mobile phones, if you wish to repeat, you're free to repeat. Matsyo yugānta-samaye manunopalabdhaḥ. kṣoṇīmayo nikhila-jīva-nikāya-ketaḥ. visraṁsitān uru-bhaye salile mukhān me. ādāya tatra vijahāra veda-mārgān. matsyo yugānta-samaye manunopalabdhaḥ. kṣoṇīmayo nikhila-jīva-nikāya-ketaḥ. visraṁsitān uru-bhaye salile mukhān me. ādāya tatra vijahāra veda-mārgān. matsyo yugānta-samaye manunopalabdhaḥ. kṣoṇīmayo nikhila-jīva-nikāya-ketaḥ. visraṁsitān uru-bhaye salile mukhān me. ādāya tatra vijahāra veda-mārgān. Any of you? Matsyo yugānta-samaye manunopalabdhaḥ kṣoṇīmayo nikhila-jīva-nikāya-ketaḥ visraṁsitān uru-bhaye salile mukhān me ādāya tatra vijahāra veda-mārgān. Any Vaishnavi? Okay. Matsyo yugānta-samaye manunopalabdhaḥ kṣoṇīmayo nikhila-jīva-nikāya-ketaḥ visraṁsitān uru-bhaye salile mukhān me ādāya tatra vijahāra veda-mārgān. Transliteration. Matsyaḥ, incarnation of the fish. Yuga-anta, at the end of the millennium. Samaye, at the time of manunā, the would-be Vaivasvata Manu. Upalabdhaḥ, seen. kṣoṇīmayaḥ, up to the earthly planets. Nikhila, all. Jiva, living entities. Nikāya-ketaḥ, shelter for. Visraṁsitān, emanating from. Uru, great. Bhaye, out of fear. Salile, in the water. Mukhāt, from the mouth. Me, mine. Ādāya, having taken to. Tatra, there. Vijahāra, enjoyed. Her, certainly. Veda-mārgān, all the Vedas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation, kindly repeat after me. At the end of the millennium, the would-be Vaivasvata Manu of the name Satyavrata would see that the Lord in the fish incarnation is the shelter of all kinds of living entities up to those in the earthly planets. Because of my fear of the vast waters at the end of the millennium, the Vedas come out of my Brahma's mouth, and the Lord enjoys those vast waters and protects the Vedas. Purport. During one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus, and at the end of each Manu, there is a devastation up to the earthly planets. And the vast water is fearful even to Brahma. So in the beginning of the would-be Vaivasvata Manu, such devastation would be seen by him. There would be many other incidents also, such as the killing of the famous Shankasura. The foretelling is by the past experience of Brahmaji, who knew that in the fearful, devastating scene, the Vedas would come out of his mouth, but the Lord, in his fish incarnation, not only would save all living entities, namely the demigods, animals, men, and great sages, but would also save the Vedas. Text number 13, that's available on the blackboard. Shiro dadhava maradana vrashathapana munamadratamratalabdhaya adidevaha पृष्ठेन कच्छप पूर्वी दधार गोवम् निद्राक्षणो आदिश परिवर्तकशानकण्डुः क्षीरोदधावम् अरदानयूथपाना मुनमत्रतामृतलब्धया आदिदेवः पृष्ठेन कच्छप वपुर्विदधार गोवम् निद्राक्षणो अद्रि परिवर्तकशानकण्डुः क्षीरोदधाममरदनावयूथपाना मुन्मत्रताममृतलब्धया आदिदेवः पृष्ठेन कच्छप वपुर्विदधार गोवम् निद्राक्षणो अद्रिपरिवर्तकशानकण्डुः Would anyone like to repeat? Kshirodadhama maradanavayuthapana Munmadradatamratalabdhayadidevah Prishtena kachava puvirdha dadhara govam Nidrakshano adri parivartakashana kandu. Vaishnavis. Shiro dadhada amranayuthapana Munmadratamamritalabdhaya adidevah Prishtena kachava purvidadhara govam Nidrakshano adri parivartakashana kandu. Word by word translation. Kshira, milk. Ududha, in the ocean of. Amana, the demigods. Danava, the demons. Yuthapanam, of the leaders of both hosts. Anu matutam, while churning. Amrita, nectar. Labdhaya, for gaining. Adi, Devaha, the primeval Lord. Prishthana, by the backbone. Kachapa, tortoise. Vapuhu, body. Vidadhara, assumed. Gotram, the Mandara hill. Nidrakshata, while partly sleeping. Adri parimrata, ruling the hill. Kashana, scratching. Kanduhu, itching. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Kindly repeat. The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place, pivot for the Mandara mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigod and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain in order to extract nectar. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Purport. Although it is not in our experience, there is a milk ocean within this universe. Even the modern scientist accepts that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of planets hovering over our heads, and each of them has different kinds of climatic conditions. Srimad Bhagavatam gives much information which may not tally with our present experience, but as far as Indian sages are concerned, knowledge is received from the Vedic literatures, and the authorities accept without any hesitation that we should look through the pages of authentic books of knowledge, Shastra Chakshurvrat. So we cannot deny the existence of the ocean of milk as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, unless and until we have experimentally seen all the planets hovering in space. Since such an experiment is not possible, naturally we have to accept the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, because it is so accepted by spiritual leaders like Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti and others. The Vedic process is to follow in the footsteps of great authorities, and that is the only process for knowing that which is beyond our imagination. The primeval Lord, being all-powerful, can do whatever He likes, and therefore His assuming the incarnation of a tortoise or a fish for serving a particular purpose is not at all astonishing. Therefore, we should not have any hesitation whatsoever in accepting the statements of the authorities, authentic scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. The gigantic work of churning the milk ocean by the combined effort of the demigods and the demons required a gigantic resting ground or pivot for the gigantic Mandara hill. Thus, to help the attempt of the demigods, the primeval Lord assumed the incarnation of a gigantic tortoise swimming in the ocean of milk. At the same time, the mountain scratched his backbone as he was partially sleeping and thus relieved his itching sensation. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya gnānāñjana-śalākaya chakṣur-unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam sthapitam yena bhutale svayam rupaha kadamahiyam dadati svapadantikam vande aham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta-pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again, I welcome all of you, and my very respectful obeisances to all Prabhupada disciples. Kindly bless me so that I can repeat Srila Prabhupada's Vani for my own purification and for the benefit of all of you. So, in the 6th chapter in the last verse, Lord Brahma tells Narad, after talking about the Purusha Sukta, he says, "O Narad, let me now describe you the Leela avatars of the Lord." And then he states that this Leela avatars, they are so purifying in their potency that they eradicate all the dirt which is there in the ear. It's a symbolic expression when we say dirt in the ear, in the sense that our inclination, ear as a sense, not the mind, ear as the sense, our inclination to hear the material gossip or prajalpa, so that's the dirt. And when one attentively hears the pastimes of the Leela incarnations, it is that dirt which gets removed. And then he begins with Hiranyaksh as the first demon and Varaha as the first avatar. And subsequently, as he is describing, before this incarnation, you must have heard about, whether it is Nara-Narayan incarnation or Maharaj Prithu and all the other forms. We have now come to Matsya. It's a very interesting incarnation. And detailed description is given in the 24th chapter of 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So first and foremost, when Lord Brahma tells Narad that the would-be Vaivasvata Manu, known as Satyavrata. So here, the timeline confuses us. What does he mean when he says the would-be Vaivasvata Manu, known as the king Satyavrata? So Srila Prabhupada explains it in the purport in the 8th canto, and there he mentions Sridhar Swami, he mentions Lagu Bhagavatamrita, he also mentions Rupa Goswami's name, and he reconciles this timeline. And there is amazing information lying there. So Srila Prabhupada says that actually this pastime took place in Chakshusha Manvantar, and in that Manvantar it was not the time of Lord Brahma's sleep, so it was not night. And then he confirms on the strength of the previous Acharya's statements, particularly Rupa Goswami, and he quotes Lagu Bhagavatamrita also. He says that Lord Brahma partially for some time went into a nap during the daytime. It was not the night of Brahma as it happens. And that's where this devastation took place, and that's where the Lord took the form as Matsya. So, just to set a little bit of background, whenever Lord Brahma goes to sleep and he wakes up next morning, somehow or other the Vedas are stolen. So the Hayagriva demon who is there, he steals the Vedas, and the Lord kills him as the fish incarnation. So that pastime took place during the reign of Swayambhu Manu at the beginning of the creation, which basically means that Lord Brahma slept, he woke up. When he woke up, he figured out that Hayagriva has stolen the Vedas. And then Lord, in the incarnation of a tortoise, kills Hayagriva and reclaims Vedas. But the second Matsya avatar took place when, during the Chakshusha Manvantar, the Supreme Lord Hari wanted to please his pure devotee Maharaj Satyavrata. And it's a very, very purifying narration. Krishna has this amazing ability to put himself in a position which is lower than his devotee. So King Satyavrata, while performing his morning rituals, on the bank of a river, so he took some water to offer, and the Lord appeared there in the form of a small fish. But what is astounding is that as he did in the case of Maharaj Bali, he took himself in a lower position. He exactly did the same thing with this pure devotee of his, King Satyavrata. And he said, "O king, please don't throw me back into these waters, because there are large aquatics and they would eat me out, and I am taking your shelter, you must offer protection to me. More I read about this nature of Krishna, it gives a lot of joy. How he gives himself to his devotees. Lord Ramachandra becomes helpless or appears to be helpless when Sita is kidnapped, and he says, "Oh Hanuman, now you help." That showcases outright absence of false ego in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how he yearns, though he is Atmaram, he is self-sufficient, he does not need, but how he puts himself in a condition where his devotees rescue him. And he relishes that protection, because as we read in Damodar pastime also, Krishna yearns for, he wants to be taken care of, because the Ishwar Bhav, the Vibhu aspect is constantly there in him, but he relishes the pastime in Vatsalya, in Madhurya, and he likes to be, I don't want to use the word chastised, but I'm not having a right, most appropriate word there, but he likes to be taken care of. And this time it's his, devotee, so to say, King Satyavrata. And when he made himself appear in this condition, King Satyavrata immediately took charge. And he said, "Okay, I'll give you shelter." And then he took him, the fish in a jug, and brought home. And overnight, the fish increased so much that the jug was fairly small by the size of the fish, and the fish was feeling suffocated. And then the fish again said, "You must arrange for a large reservoir, O king, because this place is not sufficient." Then the king Satyavrata puts the fish in a small pond, and the fish immediately grows by 3 cubits. 1 cubit is, you can say, 1 hand, so, like that. And every time the Lord keeps on saying, "I have taken your shelter, you must give me protection." But it is not that he is testing, it is just that he is relishing the care and the protection given by his devotees. This is amazingly bewildering. During the era of Mughal kings, when they attacked Vrindavan, attacked the external land, so to say, of Vrindavan, and our devotees, acharyas, they took Madan Mohan and Gopinath and Govindadev and ran towards Jaipur, or Karoli and other places. So sometimes when I think that holding the Lord who can protect everyone, when the devotee says, "No, you may get harmed, so let me protect you." And what a feeling Krishna enjoys. And he doesn't kill the opponents there. He says, no, I am the most powerful, you get aside, I'll manage. He doesn't do that. He relishes that protection. Mutual contradictions so peacefully coexist in the supreme truth that it every time bewilders us. The most powerful becomes, afraid of tiny things. And he tells Yogamaya, "Cover me also, so that I can forget my Ishvara Bhav and relish it with my devotees." King Satyavrata then arranges for a large reservoir, then throws the fish into a river, and the fish just doesn't stop elongating, so to say, or exceeding in the size. Eventually, the king throws the fish into an ocean. And you would be amazed to hear what was the size of matsya. How long? So Srimad Bhagavatam states it's 8 million miles. So 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers, which means 1 crore 24 lakhs kilometers worth size of matsya. So I was just looking at what's the diameter of earth, and what all, how huge this matsya incarnation was. And King Satyavrata then says, you are not ordinary, you have been bewildering us. In one night a small fish can't turn into this, which that it definitely means you are Supreme Lord Hari and you have arrived here. As you hear this pastime, so many transcendental qualities of Krishna, once again come to the fore. So the Lord says, yes, today, starting today, on the 7th day from now, there would be a devastation. And I'm telling you, you arrange for a boat and put all the herbs and, all the species, and along with the 7 rishis, you sit in that boat. And I'm telling you right now that the waters would be very fiery and the winds would be, would be blowing with too much speed. So your boat would toss, but don't be fearful. And then you would see me. So King Satyavrata, being very pleased, after receiving with these instructions, he started meditating on matsya form. And later on, when the 7th day came, it started pouring profusely. And then King Satyavrata, sitting in that boat along with the rishis, he actually started getting perturbed. And the rishis told him, as stated by Lord Keshav, O king, now you arrange for all the things. And then they saw this 8 million miles long matsya. And then Lord Matsya said, you pick up Vasuki and you tie Vasuki from my horn, and then I will take you through these devastating waters while it doesn't subside and Brahma doesn't wake up. But what is more astonishing is, after doing this pastime, what did Matsya do? Lord Matsya gave Bhagavad Gita knowledge to King Satyavrata in the devastating waters. So I was just thinking that Krishna doesn't select a drawing room setting to give knowledge of self-realization. To Arjun also, it was in the middle of the battlefield, and here also you are, no matter how hard you have practiced that you are not this body, including Markandeya for that matter, everyone can easily be put into illusion by Krishna's illusory energy. And so it was natural, because Lord Brahma, who has created, he himself says, when I see this kind of a devastating water, my mouth, becomes wide open. And when that happens, Vedas move out. And then to reclaim that, so this same King Satyavrata, who was there in Chakshusha Manvantar, and it's not a pastime as per our acharyas of the night of Brahma. It didn't happen. It happened when Brahma took an afternoon nap during the Manvantar. He then again took birth, King Satyavrata, and he is the current Manu. He took birth as son of Lord Vaivasvata, and that's why he is called Vaivasvata Manu, who was erstwhile the King Satyavrata. So that's the pastime that is being mentioned here. But the Lord taking a lower position, relishing the protection offered by his pure devotee, and Krishna's hankering for this loving exchange is a great source of happiness for all of us. Krishna exchanging these mellows with his devotees, as Lord Brahma said, that removes the dirt of the ear. Since the time is less and we have only finished one, so we would immediately now move to the tortoise incarnation. In fact, actually in this Samudra Manthan pastime, there are 3 incarnations parallelly working. So, the Lord known as Ajita, he is there on the side of the demigods while the churning is taking place. And when all the demigods go to Lord Shiva, he also goes to Lord Shiva. And when all of them pray, he also prays to Lord Shiva.
And I was very curious because I know Prabhupada would say something now. And Prabhupada immediately, in that purport, he says, please be clear that here Madhvacharya has stated that it was only to give credit to Lord Shiva that Lord Vishnu prayed to him. Otherwise, Lord Vishnu could have rectified the situation then and there. So there is a tortoise incarnation, on top of whose back there is Mandara hill standing. Then there is Lord Ajita, who is doing the churning along with the demigods. And the third is Dhanvantari, who is a partial incarnation of the Lord. So in the same pastime, Krishna is appearing as 3 different incarnations and doing this activity. So what is more astonishing is when the demigods headed by Brahma and Lord Shiva, they go to the Kshirosagar and they pray. Bhagavatam states that the effulgence of Kshirodakshashai Vishnu was so profuse that demigods couldn't, take it, and they just closed their eyes. Only Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, after some effort, could see that effulgence, and then they could hear from the Lord. The next point that comes is that even here, the Lord does not disturb his plan or his sequence of activities. For example, many a times demigods go to Vishnu and say, help us, help us. So what answer do they get? Okay, I'm getting up, I'll kill immediately, and that's it. He never gets that, he never gives that answer. He says, the time will come. So actually there is no solution being offered right now. You came with something, but all you got is assurance, and now you go back. But it's very technical in nature. The sum total of sinful activities, sinful reactions of all the living entities, how they interact with each other, and ultimately that situation arises where the right time and the tithi and the muhurat and everything would coincide, and it is only at that time he would come. He won't disturb his schedule. So then what's the benefit of going to him? Whether it is Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha, whenever you go, you say, time hasn't come yet. You be assured he will be killed. You please go back and relax. What relax? There is no place to relax. We are out of home right now. But that's where the implied message is. Austerities and penances, Krishna being impartial, he gives those powers to demons also if demons deserve it. Not in terms of conduct or character, but in terms of ability. Physical prowess, mental strength, willpower, determination. And when Brahma appeared before Hiranyakashipu, he said, even Bhrigu Rishi hasn't performed the severest austerities the way you have done them. Point being made is that while demigods are busy watching apsaras dancing, and they are appreciating, and Prabhupada mentions that in the Mishrit Bhakta category, it happens. A pure devotee, Krishna won't take any chance. He will break all the rules, he will go and kill. But in the case of mixed devotees, they will also have to take that portion of fun. Which means if somebody is working hard and you aren't, then get ready. In today's parlance, it's very easy to put it aside. Maya works like that. They say, oh, this is his life and this is my life. Well, then he will grow. You won't, materially. And then you would want his position without his efforts. And then if he does some bullying, you won't be able to counteract. And then you will say, what is my fault? But this is the nature of this place. There is a very interesting narration that comes in Ramayana. Lord Ramachandra is fainted and Lakshmana is sitting beside him. And then he says, my dear brother, all through your life, you followed the path of religion and niti. But what did you get? Exile to the forest. And your younger brother, who wasn't deserving, has been made the king. So I, Lakshman, announce today that the path of righteousness does not guarantee happiness. It is only when path of righteousness is mixed with right ability that it will guarantee happiness. So, O Shion of Raghu dynasty, you get up and you kill this demon and then reclaim your wife Sita. So the path of righteousness alone in material world, as per none other than Lord Ananta, doesn't guarantee happiness. It has to be mixed with abilities. So we can't say, oh, I'm a simple devotee and I'm okay. Because we are struggling sadhakas and we haven't become pure devotees. Our 100% dependence is not on Krishna. It's a very subtle regression that takes place wherein we discard some routine responsibilities. And later on, we suffer. Like for example, a simple example is, suppose some devotee catches a disease. And then he would say, oh, this is reaction of karma. No, it's a reaction of overeating. You take care of that. And things will be okay. I mean, you don't have to every time define a thing in such a, philosophical manner. So, but coming back to Lord Kurma here, or Kachap avatar. So, Lord Vishnu as usual assures them, but he proposes something, another feature of the Supreme Truth. We think if we go to somebody powerful, he will immediately give us a solution. He says, no, you make a truce with demons. It's not an easy task. So even demigods who are approaching Lord Vishnu, one, they don't get a timely help as per their calculation. Two, the help that they get is not as per what they thought they should be getting. He says, now you go and... So we should make a truce with demons. So the Lord says, if the objective is common, then both of you will come together. You understood? They both need nectar. Krishna is so clear who needs what, and he can get the two enemies together and make them best friends, because we are all lured by these kind of things, and he is very well aware of our situation. So he said, now you make truce and you churn. And guess what? Two pet enemies, first time in the history, they come together for a common gain. Prabhupada says that cooperation is the biggest austerity in this day and age. Particularly if the common gain is not very attractive to us. Here, Prabhupada disciples are sitting and they very well know this fact that our progress of our movement could have been manifold had there been cooperation. But I am not qualified to say that, because it burns like fire, this cooperation part. The whole Kshatriya thing, raises its hood and says, no, this is not fair, this can't be done, this is not how society functions. And we stay away from the path of Brahmanical qualities. It's extremely tough. It's like a thankless job. Except the Lord and His pure devotees, nobody knows what sacrifice you did. It's like dying an unknown death. All glories to those acharyas, all glories to these very senior Vaishnavas who take this path, who don't sit on this rigid path of, right, wrong, right, wrong, right. Everybody knows what is right, what is wrong. It takes guts to, accommodate, and accommodate to a large extent. when Lord Shiva is approached, though two beautiful verses come, and I'm sure all of you are aware of that. One of them, when he's talking to Bhavani, he says, one who suffers for the welfare of others, Supreme Lord Hari is most pleased by him. And these amazing Vaishnavas, that's why Vaishnavas are so dear to Govinda. They can die bit by bit only to ensure that more and more souls become inclined to the Supreme Lord. And they don't need any mention for that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many acharyas of ours clearly told Krishnadas Kaviraj, please make sure my name doesn't feature. All glories to Krishna, all glories to other devotees. So in the same Kachhap avatar, Lord Shiva also holds the same principle. The biggest worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead is to suffer for others. And that doesn't mean that you pay for the, say, health benefit of a routine drunkard. It's not that. It is suffering so that other people can go close to Krishna. That's the best form of worship of Supreme Lord. I would like to pause here because we only have 2-3 minutes left. If you have any comments, any rectification, any question, yes, please. It's there.
Yeah. So Prabhu, I understood the story, but I couldn't understand whether the Dashavatara, what is the difference between this story and the Dashavatara Stotra, which is written by Jayadev Goswami?
No, scheduled incarnation, all incarnations are a part of that only. It is just that now we are taking them one by one. So we have talked about matsya, we have talked about kurma, that's all.
So is that like it says about the story and glorifies the Lord?
Yes, the whole purpose of every leela is our purification by Krishna's glorification.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
We need opportunity to glorify. By glorifying, we purify.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Any value addition, Prabhuji, if I may request you to. We would be enlightened to hear from you. It was embarrassing to sit on a Vyasasana before you. Thank you so much.
When Srila Prabhupada came to the West, the first year that he was there in New York City, he said that he never looked to the left, he never looked to the right. He walked straight into hell to come and save us. But in that first year, he went through so much sufferings, no one knows, because he never spoke about it. But I knew a man in New York that saw him actually get beaten in a bad neighborhood in the Bronx, And Prabhupada never spoke about it.
Yes.
Never mentioned it.
1922 to 1965. Apparently, failures one after another. And that's the best example I give often when Karma Yoga is described and Akarma is being described. That Prabhupada was unfazed, unmoved, and he tolerated one after another. And if anybody said, why are you suffering? He would just say, this is between me and Krishna. And so, you're very, very fortunate, Prabhuji. I mean, you spend time with him and you are so dear to Prabhupada.
Actually, I never spent time with him. I joined in 72 when he was sheltered from all the other people. I was no one. I couldn't even speak English. So, but I saw him,
You witnessed.
Yes, he's a beautiful being,
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to all your devotees. Dandavats.